Welcome back to the Talk tonight as we learn more about Heather Lacey and the conditions she kept her 3-year-old son in her apartment in DeWitt. We're reminded of other instances of child abuse. Court documents reveal, well, at least 1 or 2 other people knew about the situation. The details that were told to investigators are terribly disturbing. So what is the obligation of anybody who sees an abused child in our community to come forward? We're looking at video here or at least video that was set up for our shooting purposes of the child abuse hotline in Albany. They don't like to reveal the exact location for the purposes of safety of the people who take those calls. But Michael Benny joins us now for the Talk tonight, as he does every night at this time. And we are learning more about Heather Lacey and her 3-year-old boy and the conditions he was forced to live in. And I was stunned to learn when I read those court papers that there was a roommate living in this apartment with her and this boy for at least several weeks in September.
Thank goodness he came forward. I will say that. I mean, a couple of weeks had gone on, so you kind of wonder, initially when he moved in, why he didn't say something immediately. Listen, we weren't in the apartment, so we don't know what kind of interaction he had, whether he knew that boy had been there.
He admitted that he was avoiding even being in the apartment once he saw the conditions they were living in, but still it took a while to reach the conclusion he should help the boy.
Yeah, and thank goodness he did come forward.
Eventually, yeah. Although this has been going on, to hear the mother tell it, that it has been going on for 6 months. And to read the court papers, which are at cnycentral.com, if you've got the stomach for it, to hear her with this cavalier attitude towards the child, that she just doesn't have a care in the world. There's no food in the house. There's some Cheetos. The kid doesn't eat. And her backstory, or at least the backstory about her and her narrative that she told to child protective caseworkers, that this is a continuation of neglect and abuse, that the sort that she suffered as a child herself.
Yeah, and the other part of her story is that she says that her son, where's the father? Well, she supposedly conceived this child in a forced sexual act, is what it says in the report. So she's not showing any sign of being an effective mother at this time. And from what we're reading from our colleagues at the Syracuse.com, there was a family court hearing today that the judge there said, well, this boy's not going back with this woman, at least not at this time, which obviously makes sense. She's going to be in jail and dealing with this legal issue too. But
it seems like we live in a society these days where people just don't want to get involved, and there's a big problem with that. If you see something, if you smell something, if you feel like something is just wrong, you have to come forward and talk about it. And the fact that we live in a world today where people kind of feel either uncomfortable or like it's going to put them in a bad position, they don't want to have a strange or uncomfortable interaction with that parent, you have to come forward.
Right. Well, even with the roommate, he said he was going to go one day down the Child Protective, but he was running late to do something else. And so he didn't go that day. He went the next day and delayed it further. I mean, I know you're giving him credit for reporting. I guess he deserves that. But this seems to be the one person, at least that we know of, that knew this boy was in this situation.
That was in this dire condition.
And maybe it's symptomatic of the point you're making, that sometimes people just don't find a place in their busy lives to help out somebody else who needs it. And children should be helped in every case.
The people who answer, we were seeing one of the women that I interviewed at the Child Protective Hotline, the 1-800 number that you can find everywhere across our state. They all go to this one central location in Albany. And I was talking to the staff members in the spring when I visited there about dealing with someone on the phone who is hesitant. And they do have folks who call in who've seen things that they believe are abusive. They've been going on for months. The person sometimes on the other end of the phone will break down with the operator on the other end and say, I've been seeing this for months. I should have said something earlier. And the person will coax them and calm them down and say, it's okay, it's important you called now. We can get something done.
And don't think that someone is going to say something. Don't think, oh, well, someone else will make that phone call. Someone else will take care of it. You need to be strong enough and be that person to advocate for that child.
Some people, our Facebook page has all kinds of opinions, and there's some current concern that Child Protective may have known something. We don't know that to be true until this report came in just a few days before this arrest. So I guess we can continue to look into the story.